Now, you and I both understand the importance of the family as the building block of the community, society, nation, and even world. What must be done to strengthen families and overcome the vicious cycles of babies having babies and family breakdown in general?
And when you look at it culturally,
Yes.
39% of black children have a mother and a father in the home.
39%.
As compared to 66% of whites and Latinos and 77% of Asians. Now, prior to the 60s, before drugs infused their way into our society, the black families were rather strong.
Yes.
And if there was a weak black family, then the extended family,
would take
grandma,
care.
granddad, or the neighbors who lived around you, or the teachers at the school, you were caught up in an environment of support.
There was a safety net,
There
so
was
to
a
speak.
safety net. But then when drugs were infused into our communities and followed with weapons
And
followed with gangs and negative imaging through DVDs and CDs, there came a disruption and a rupture in the family structure.
Has had a huge impact.
Oh, a huge impact, so that you will find children with the missing father. The father may be victimized by some form of addiction, or the father may be incarcerated, because 80% of those incarcerated have substance abuse problems or substance abuse crimes.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle, and it cannot be served with a single touch. But the many touches would include mentoring.
Yes.
Churches have mentoring programs for children who have no mother or father or who are lacking one or the other. And you have the Department for Children and Family Services here in Los Angeles and many supportive groups. But mentoring, a support base from the church with youth programs, the religious establishment with youth programs, those who are with children or whose children have emptied the nest, reaching out to these and helping to be foster parents to them. It will take much to restore the family.
Yes.
Meanwhile,
Yes.
people of conscience will realize that the family is the center of being for any child, the family.
Yes. And having two parents
Helps.
raising a child together as partners
Yes.
makes all the difference in a person's life.
And we don't have to get too discouraged, because within the black family structure, this is just a generation and a half old. So if we go into high, we can correct it within another generation or so. It will take some time.
Yeah, and I think, don't we need to bring more to bear to the problem? I mean, is enough being done in your view?
Well, there can be no enough, because it took 4 centuries in America of slavery and the slavery atmosphere to create the problem.
Yeah.
So it will take immense resources to solve the problem. And then you have the negative influences on young people coming along. The hip-hop generation has a few pluses, but it has a whole lot of minuses. The missing father, the frustrated, overworked mother, the jail cells loaded. Adult black males are 3% of the American population, and 50% of the prison population, 80% of them going there because of substance abuse-related crimes. And yet the Sentencing Project out of Washington, D.C. says that blacks get a 49% higher sentencing for the same crimes as whites.
Yeah, it's very important that we understand that.
America is leading in prison structure.
So the odds are really stacked against
unless you
overcoming.
are for you're going to have an awful time.
Yeah.
Because the odds right now do not favor impoverished people who in any way get in any kind of trouble. And the children pay the price.
What are the biggest social threats facing young African Americans? You've mentioned some of them. But any others that come to
One
mind?
is dropping out of school.
Yeah.
Because education is the key. If you had to choose a single key, I would say education. A Harvard study recently reports that 50% of blacks and browns will not finish high school or do not finish high school. There's a 50% dropout rate.
Is it that high?
40% in 10th grade.
Wow.
And it is well established that a high school graduate in a lifetime of working earns 3 times as much money as a dropout.
Yes.
And a dropout is 3 times as likely as a graduate to end up in the penal system. So without the education, the young people are in crisis.
Yes.
They need to go on to college, and even after that to grad school if they are able to. And if they don't choose to go into college, they need to go on to a technical school that will give them a trade.
The skills
so I would say the dropout is one aspect.
Yeah.
Another aspect is the cool culture.
The cool culture.
Everybody wants to be cool.
Right.
Sagging and bagging and carrying on and pants dropping down.
And what does that lead to?
It leads to a culture that is not positive. Even if the culture were not negative, which it tends to be, it would not be positive. So you have the easy way out, the street gang. You have the easy way out thinking that you can push some drugs, even though the drug pusher, the typical one, earns about $600 a month and will end up either on a slab or in prison. So it takes away from the mainstream of education, your religion, if you are a religious person, your family, and an after-school job. These are old-fashioned virtues that will be used to solve a new-fashioned problem.
Yeah.